Hello everyone, I'm Nidhi Sekho. Our today's topic is Pahadi School of Miniature Painting, and we will be doing everything in detail from origin and development to sub-schools, themes, features and explanation of paintings. So let's start. First is origin and development. The time period that falls into Pahadi school is the time when artistic activity was at its peak was later half of 17th century to the middle of 19th century. On the map, if you want to see, the Pahadi region comprises of present state of Himachal Pradesh, some adjoining areas of Punjab, the area of Jammu in Jammu and Kashmir, which is a union territory now, and Garhwal in Uttaranchal. The Pahadi states which were active in art, which are our sub-schools, are Basoli, Chamba, Guler, Jammu, Nurpur, Kullu, Mandi, Bilaspur, Garhwal, Kangra and some of the others. Now this was the time when there was a lot of political unrest in the neighboring areas. The neighboring areas would include Rajasthan and Delhi, Agra, Fatehpur Sikri. Aurangzeb had come. His time period comes to 1658 to 1707. So there was a lot of political unrest. There were wars. They were trying to conquer the whole area, and Pahadi region was difficult to conquer. And plus, Pahadi rulers became Aurangzeb's vassals. Vassals means they became allies. They supported the Mughal army. So there was comparatively peaceful environment in Pahadi region. So there was a mass movement. Traders, merchants, artists would start shifting to Pahadi region. So with them came paintings, and with this came the influence of Rajasthani and Mughal to Pahadi region. Many art researchers and historians give credit of development of Pahadi school to the artist family of Pandit Siu. His grandsons, sons and nephews and everybody in the family, they were artists. They were spread in the Pahadi region, and with them developed the Pahadi art. Pandit Siu had two sons, Manku and Nansuk. Manku's son was Kushal, and Nansuk's son Ramlal, also known as Ram Sahaya or Ranjha, worked at Chamba. Nikka and Godhu, they worked at Guler just like Nansuk, and all of them were responsible for development of Pahadi art. Therefore, with this indigenous growth of Pahadi art with the help of Pandit Siu's family, Pahadi art is now called the combination of Gujarat manuscripts, local folk art, Mughal style, Rajasthani art of first half of 17th century, which had already absorbed the style of Mughal time of Akbar, Jahangir and Shah Jahan. So this was a great blend of all arts. Now whichever school we study, we always see their landscapes. In Rajasthan, we saw camels and sandy landscapes. In Pahadi region, now we'll see the beauty of nature at its peak. We'll see mountains, we'll see lakes, flora and fauna. Everything inspired the artists of these mountains, and they portrayed the best themes of love which you can ever see in Indian art. The art and artists flourished here freely and independently without any imposition of any subject matter, and there were great patrons like Raja Sansar Chand. So this was the time where pure Hindu art, which was both Shaivite, that means Shiva themes, and Vaishnavite, which includes Ram and Krishna themes, all these themes evolved here. Before we proceed further, you must remember that Pahadi art is divided into three main phases, or you can call them styles, or they are also called kalams in Hindi. So Basoli kalam was the first stage, then Guler, which is also called later Basoli or pre-Kangra. And the third, which is the peak of Pahadi art, is Kangra school. Our first sub-school is Basoli. It is also the first kalam, the first stage of Pahadi art. It is also called the cradle of Pahadi art because everything began from here. Raja Kirpal Pal was the main patron, and under him an artist called Devi Das worked, who executed miniatures in 1694. So in early 18th century, workshops developed here, ateliers grew up, and you see a strong individual flavor which was a combination of folk art tradition with Mughal technique. So Basoli style spread to various neighboring states and art began. It is vigorous, that means energetic. It is bold, you see bold colors, bold lines. It is very imaginative artistic style which is rich, stylish and unconventional. You can see the themes, you can see the way ladies were treated, you can see the overall landscapes, everything is unconventional. And historians also say that Basoli art shares the aesthetics of Chaur Panchika group of paintings of Western India. You can see the video made on Nepal School, Jain School and schools of Central India, where Chaur Panchika group of paintings are also discussed. Now coming to themes of Basoli, the very popular theme was Ras Manjari. This was done by Devi Das and Ras Manjari is written by Bhanu Dutt. This is a discussion of types of heroines in Shringar Ras. There are various classifications and one of the classifications says that Naikas can be innocent, they can be adolescent, they can be mature, and Mugdha Naika, which is one important example, is one innocent kind of Naika. They are painted in different moods, like a lady getting ready to meet his lover, the lady who's just had a fight, somebody who's anticipating this kind of thing. So it is a beautiful classification of different types of heroines. The second most popular theme was Ramayan. Artists used to love different paintings on Ramayan. And Kullu also comes under Basoli Kalam. And Ramayan of Kullu, which was called Shangri. Shangri was the place where the royal family of Raja Raghubir Singh lived. So it got its name of Shangri Ramayan. So Ramayan was a favorite theme by the artists. Then other themes were like Krishna subjects, commonly known as Krishna Leela, Geet Govind, Nayak Naika, Baramasa, where Krishna was the hero. Then Bhagavad Puran was painting, different Ragmala paintings were also done. Just like Mughal and Rajasthan, artists of Pahadi school also painted portraits of local kings with their consorts and courtesans. Consorts and courtesans are the female companions of these rulers. Then courtiers and astrologers were also painted. Now coming to the characteristic features of Basoli Kalam, first is primary colors are used, that is red, yellow and blue. Then colors are very warm, you can see warm yellows on plain monochrome background. If you see some of the paintings, you will realize that the background was generally plain. Then the format of paintings is square and you can also see red border in most of the paintings. Then drawings are bold, even the lines are vigorous, energetic and bold. Then coming to colors, colors are very strong, glowing and contrasting. Obviously when they are primary colors, they have to be strong. Then sky was not important for them in the landscape, it is just used as a narrow band of blue and white at the top. Then when you look at the females, you realize that they are short and they have very attractive and luring eyes. Then another important feature which I have discussed in MCQs also, for showing gems in ornaments, these green things as you can see in the picture are actually the pieces of beetle wings. Then these white dots are raised white paint so that pearls in the ornaments also stand out just like the green gems. Then building structures, the architectural things are elaborate shikhar. Shikhar means the top of the building. Then they used stylized vegetation. If they are using trees, they are also stylized, they are very decorated. They would use different types of leaves just to give, enhance their landscape. Then lotuses are a must because it's all Pahadi region. So nature was used as the decorative element to enhance their miniatures. And whatever naturalistic character that came later in Pahadi school was majorly the influence of Mughal paintings. Our second sub-school is Guler, which is the last phase of Basoli style that developed into Guler Kangra phase or Kalam, which was the middle period of Pahadi art. Then the main patrons were Raja Govardhan Chand and his successor Prakash Chand. The main artists were sons of Manak, also called Manku and Nansukh. The names are Khushal, Fattu and Godhu, and Nansukh also worked here. Then at Guler we see a lot of portraits which are in style similar to the portraits of Balwant Singh of Jasrota, whose portraits were mainly made by Nansukh. He was his court painter. Then in this style you see a long tradition of painting portraits of two generations of people, two generations of rulers by the same artists. The themes of Guler school are also similar to that of Basoli, and the major ones that stand out are Geet Govind, which is Krishna series, an illustration from the famous series of Bhagavad, for which one is an important example in National Museum. Krishna is killing a demon Vatsasur on the bank of river Yamuna. Then the main features of Guler art are that this art was more naturalistic and delicate, and mainly inspired by Mughal paintings of Muhammad Shah period. Muhammad Shah is the later ruler after Aurangzeb. Then the colors of Guler school are soft and cool, and the palette also, now you see it's not primary colors, the colors are more like pastel colors. Then lines are thinner and more refined if you compare it with the Basoli school. Our next sub-school is Kangra, which is the most glorious phase of Pahadi art, and it is the third phase of Pahadi painting, which is the Kangra Kalam. The main patrons were Raja Sansar Chand, Ghamand Chand and Anirudh Chand. They belonged to the popular Kachod dynasty of that region. Now this Kangra school possesses the main characteristics of Kule's style, which was very delicate in drawing and quality of naturalism. Kangra art was a very romantic style of art which gave a lot of emphasis to nature and beauty. The main phases of Kangra art are one Alampur, second Tira Sujanpur, where patronage of Sansarchand was at its peak, and third was Nadon. Actually, in Kangra, lesser number of paintings were made because this remained under Mughals and later under Sikhs. So, three main phases are Alampur, Tira Sujanpur, and Nadon. As I said, Kangra art was very romantic. So there was a lot of interest towards beauty of women, snow-clad mountains, and exquisite landscapes with lakes and natural beauty were painted here. The principal artists, the main artists were family of Manku and Nansukh, their grandsons and sons, which were Fattu, Purkhu, Sajnu and Khushal. Now another important point is that Kangra was later responsible for the offshoot of Sikh school which flourished under Ranjit Singh of Punjab in 19th century. Now coming to subject matter or themes of Kangra art, love was the principal theme of this school. Rasik Priya, the greatest poetic work by Keshav Das, then romances like Sasi Punnu, Heer Ranja and Soni Mahewal, they were also painted. Then Devi Mahatmya manuscript was also painted here. Ras Manjari, as we discussed in Basoli, was also part of the themes. Then series of Bhagavad Puran paintings, Geet Govind, Nal Damayanti, Bihari Satsai, Ragmala and Baramasa. Then depiction of Ashtanayikas, which is the 8 dispositions and emotive states of Nayikas. Then Baramasa paintings, which is 12 folios which illustrates different months of the year. Then portraiture was also very dominant part of this subject matter. Then record of Sansarchand and his court. He is shown sitting by the riverside, listening to music, watching dancers, presiding over festivals, doing different things. He has been painted in detail. Now coming to the characteristic features. To understand the characteristic features is like going to the tour of a museum of a particular school, seeing hundreds of paintings, then coming out and discussing what you saw in general. Like your teacher takes you to a tour and then you realize, these were the colors, such were the lines, such was the treatment, what do you think was the best part? So that's how we derive the features. Now like Rajasthani art has the fragrance of Rajasthan soil, Pahadi art has the fragrance and beauty of Pahadi soil. They vibrate with the naturalism, with realism, with delicacy of line, brilliance of color and beautiful minute details. It's like, a feel-good movie, a feel-good melodious music. So Kangra art, the Pahadi art also has that melody of colors. Their workmanship is very fine, just like Mughal miniatures. Their tones, their lines are very fine. Their female figures are very delicate and very beautiful. They are very graceful. In Radha and Krishna paintings, you not only see the romance, the love, emotional sensualism, but also there is a hidden devotional purpose and symbolism in the paintings. Lord Krishna stands for God and Gopis and Radha stand for the devotees. In Kangra art, the borders are very fine. Whether plain or decorative, the borders have become finer. Then colors are balanced and contrasting. The buildings are also very neatly laid. The landscape here is superb. The way they have treated nature, leaves, trees, flowers, shrubs, birds and hills, it all looks very beautiful. Now coming to the beautiful figures, the female figures are delicately carved. Their features look very beautiful, and a distinctive feature is that nose is in line with the forehead. See the image here. You can see that there is not much of a curve. Even the jewelry that these females are wearing, it is very carefully detailed. Then the portraits here are also much mature and they have improved a lot. A single character is sometimes repeated so that there is a continuous narration and you can see that incident is being portrayed here. Our next sub-school is Chamba and the main patrons were Raja Uday Singh, Raja Raj Singh, Raja Umed Singh and Raja Charat Singh. This was a Basoli style which took roots here in Chamba when artists migrated here in the 18th century. This art reached the masses and the common people, therefore there was a increasing influence of folk art in this style. The main themes were portraits, then Hindu religious legends such as Radha Krishna, Shiv Parvati, Yashoda and Krishna, with gopis, then Krishna Sudama, Durga Saptshati, love scenes, and birds and animals were also painted here. Main painters of this school are Nikka, who migrated from Basoli, then Ramlal, Durga, and Leru. And this Chamba school apparently lasted longest till the 19th century. Our last sub-school from the syllabus is Garhwal. The main patrons were Prithipat Shah and his son Maidani Shah. This Garhwal style had a very close similarity to Guler and Kangra, therefore the characteristic features and themes were quite similar. Now I'll tell you a historical fact which is very interesting. In 1658, a nephew of Aurangzeb took shelter under Prithipat Shah in Garhwal. And along with him came the artist Shyamdas and his son Hardas. Their further descendant was Maularam, and Maularam's further descendants were Tulsiram and Tejram. So these were the important artists. Now this nephew of Aurangzeb could not survive here for long because Maidani Shah gave him back to Aurangzeb, and then later he was jailed and killed in the jail. So this incident you can remember for Garhwal to memorize the artists. Then another artist of this school is Chetu, which was, this guy was from Manku's family. The main themes of Garhwal school are Nayak Nayika Bhed, which was widely painted here, then Varsha Vihar, in which a painting of Radha Krishna in rain is very beautiful. Then other subjects were Geet Govind, Krishna Sudama story, Ramayan and Mahabharat. The Garhwal rulers were mainly Shaivites, so Shiva themes were quite prominent. Then Ramayan and Mahabharat, Shiv Parvati, Durga Saptshati, Bhagavad Puran, they were also illustrated here. The characteristic features are similar to Guler and Kangra. The paintings depict the scenic beauty of local rivers and hills, and the settings in the backdrop of beautiful figures in the romantic compositions actually, bring out the feeling of peace and simplicity that prevailed in India years ago before all these foreign invasions. So Pahadi art has beauty of our country in originality. Now after doing the themes and characteristic features of all sub-schools, we can now combine them for Pahadi art in general. The themes can be divided into three. First, religious themes. Different Puranas and Ramayan were painted here. Then both Shaivite and Vaishnavite religions could be found as themes, but Vaishnavism was more prominent. Then Bhakti movement, same as Rajasthan. This also provided themes for Pahadi paintings. In literary themes, one of the early notable works of art was Devi Mahatmya manuscript, which was painted at Kangra in 1552. Then Nayak Nayika Bhed, as in Rasmanjari we have discussed. Then Geet Govind and Bihari Satsai. Then poetry of Surdas and Tulsidas and other poets saw fusion of literature and painting. In Ragmala paintings, we see fusion of music and painting. Then general themes, which included daily routine of important occasions from the lives of kings, their portraits, then royal court scenes, general life, Baramasa, festivals and fairs. The characteristic features of Pahadi school in general. First and foremost is love and romance is the inspiration and the main preoccupation of Pahadi school. The pranks of Krishna with gopis and Radha were their favorites. You see a lot of romantic scenes in Basoli and Kangra, and due to these moral and social restrictions in Rajput families, the expression of love was concealed. But love in paintings is freely expressed, be it union, separation or dejection. Now with this love and romance, there was symbolism. In Pahadi paintings, the spiritual love of God and soul is personified in Krishna and Radha themes. Coming to depiction of nature, the depiction of landscapes which consist mountains, beautiful flowering trees, rivers, tanks teeming with lotus flowers and aquatic birds. In sky you can see rainy season clouds, lightning, rain. Everything is nicely painted. The creepers which are there in the greens, they symbolize union, and all hillscapes add to the beauty and romance in the miniatures. Most importantly, nature is a tool to enhance bhav, that is emotion, in the paintings. All landscapes with trees, hills, lakes which have flowers in it, they enhance the beauty of its nayikas, that is heroines in Nayak Nayika Bhed, be it union, anticipation or regret. Then comes linear beauty. The rhythm and smoothness of line has added to the beauty of figures, and these lines have been made with squirrel hair brushes which are very thin. The lines are compared with Ajanta, and when something is compared with Ajanta, it means it is the epitome. The fine lines which are used for drawing of eyes, jewelry and other details, it is absolutely praiseworthy. The female figures of Pahadi art have a beauty of their own. The faces in Basoli school had their own originality and they had folk art influence. Though they were not very developed and very mature, but in Kangra, their beauty gets its due and they have been made beautifully with a round face, backward sloping forehead with nose falling in the same line as forehead, large expressive eyes, almond colored, curved and shapely bodies. The traditional idea of ideal womanhood is maintained with their clothes and ornaments, which is beautifully complementing their beauty. Coming to their garments and ornaments, the lenga choli, the transparent chunnis are generally worn by women and they are generally wearing necklaces, kumkum, anklets, bangles and rings. The males have been shown wearing angrakha, pajama and turban, and Krishna is generally shown wearing yellow garments, the pitambar. Then a peculiar Basoli characteristic style which we have also discussed in ornaments is use of green beetle wings, and for using pearls, for making pearls, they used raised white paint. The hand gestures are also noteworthy. The long tapering fingers, the ornamented arms and overall delicate hands which are used by artists to convey the expressions are very beautiful, and they have the strong heritage of classical dance where mudras play an important role. So this is also an important feature. Coming to portraiture, initially the faces were repetitive, but subsequently later the whole thing improved and there was a careful study of expressions for each and every character. The faces have life, emotion and moods which are clearly depicted. The colors were generally primary, but later colors improved. They started mixing colors and later even maturer colors and use of white and grays can also be seen. Colors are generally symbolic. Red and yellow are for love and passion, blue for Lord Krishna, and bluish clouds. Everything was generally very symbolic. Then we also see stylization. The nature has been painted in an ornamental style. There is symmetry, there is ornamentation in trees and leaves, and you also see folk art influence. The artists were more worried about beautifying things, they were not much concerned about showing the realistic details. Then there is beautiful depiction of animals and birds. They were not realistic studies, but all literary and romantic themes include animals such as deers, swans, cows, elephants and cranes. If a crow is near a heroine, it symbolizes that the hero is expected and she is blushing with charm, and if there are a couple of ducks, it stands for union. The peacocks are shown when the clouds are nearing. So all these expressions of bhav are beautifully depicted with the help of animals and birds. Then comes lavish use of gold and silver colors. They are shown in design of garments and ornaments and they add to the overall glamour in the miniatures. Moonlight is shown in silver. It creates a kind of diffused aura. Then lightning is also painted with silver. Golden is used in utensils, palaces, metal and furniture. These don't stand out, but they beautifully blend with all other colors. Then comes use of borders. Initially, the borders of single color like red color border were done, but later with Mughal influence, the borders became more ornamental and decorative. Another important characteristic feature is that there was not much weightage given to perspective. You can see a narrow band of white or blue sky on top. In Basoli, horizon is very high and sometimes the background is overall flat. The mastery of line, rich colors, sensitive portrayal of nature and depiction of bhav, they were all more important to the artist than the correct use of perspective. Our last characteristic feature is depiction of architecture and setting of interiors. The marble palaces, decorated gates, window lattice, carved domes, they are generally in Mughal style. The carpets and curtains too have similar designs. Then interiors have wine cups, vases and trays. They all befit the overall royal finesse of these miniatures. Before proceeding to the explanation of paintings, let's quickly discuss about the two main artists of Pahadi region, that is Manku and Nansukh. Manku and Nansukh, as we know, were the sons of painter Pandit Siu who worked in Guler in Himachal Pradesh. Together, they all dominated, their whole family dominated the exciting periods of Pahadi region. Manku followed most of his father's style, but Nansukh was more innovative and he left the court of Guler and then he worked for other patrons. Manku was the older of the two brothers and he produced a true masterpiece in 1725 when he got noticed. His illustrations to the last part of Ramayana, the so-called Siege of Lanka series, where Lanka was sieged by Lord Ram and his army. He has painted a large format Ramayana series on this. In around 1730, he produced a series of 150 pages, 150 folios of one of the central texts of Krishna worship, the Geet Govind, where nobody had worked on this illustration. He created this work. Then Manku had a very typical style of making stylized trees and faces in the compositions with plain colored background, and he used to make high horizon lines with white and blue washes. His later works we can see more realistic elements, but initially they were very stylized. The main works by Manku are Krishna with Gopis, South Wind Cools in the Himalayas from Geet Govind, and Krishna playing Blind Man's Bluff. The second artist is Nansukh. There is a movie also made on his life and works. It's a little offbeat movie. You can watch it when you get a chance. In his 30s, Nansukh left the family workshop in Guler and moved to Jasrota, where he worked under the patronage of the local Rajput ruler Mian Zorawar Singh and later his son Balwant Singh. He very carefully studied the elements of Mughal painting, which helped him in various stylistic innovations. Then Nansukh painted Balwant Singh in various moods and situations. He was very close with this ruler, and he has painted him in various moments like Prince having his beard trimmed, looking out of the window of his palace, relaxing in front of the fireplace, or writing a letter. So all the even personal things are also painted by Nansukh. After Balwant Singh's death in 1763, Nansukh moved to the new patron Amrit Pal, a nephew of Balwant Singh and ruler of Basoli. He made drawings for a set of illustrations to Geet Govind written by Jaydev. Some drawings here by Nansukh have comments by priests and scholars who have praised his illustrations. Nansukh died in Basoli in around 1778. His genius was individual portraiture that became a main feature of later Pahari style. His palette comprised of delicate pastel shades with daring expanses of white or grey. This was the majority, where he could leave a lot of areas white and grey. Then main works by Nansukh are Nand, Yashoda and Krishna with kinsmen going to Vrindavan, which is in our syllabus. And other works are Raja Balwant Singh of Jasrota worships Radha and Krishna, Raja Balwant Singh viewing a painting presented by Nansukh. Now we come to the explanation of paintings of Pahari school. First is Krishna with Gopis. Artist is Manku. Period is 1730 AD. Sub-school is Basoli. And collection is, the painting is in collection of National Museum, New Delhi. The subject matter of the painting, you can write that it is a horizontal painting and it is an illustration from the Geet Govind series by Jaydev. This painting deals with the legends and plays of Radha and Krishna, which symbolize soul's devotion to God. In this painting, gopis are shown adoring Lord Krishna. Blue-skinned Lord Krishna, he is the charmer, he is in the center of the painting and he is the tallest figure. He is wearing a yellow loincloth and fondly embracing two of the gopis. One gopi is sitting on her knees and holding Krishna, while the other one is in front of her and she is kneeling and touching Krishna's feet. One of the gopis is standing with folding hands on the right, and her attendant is holding a round fan behind her. This could probably be Radha because she looks the most important of all. Then two gopis are standing on the left talking to each other. The one on the farthest left is holding a chauri. There is no competition to win Krishna's attention. The only effort is to please him. Krishna's crown is elaborately designed with feathers at the top. All gopis look similar and their faces are also stylized. Their complexion is a little different, the clothes are different, but generally they are very similar. The large bulging lotus-shaped eyes, prominent foreheads with hairlines pushed back and nose in the same contour of the forehead line. Then the rich costumes of bright colors, bodies are rather short, but which shows the impact of folk style. Then hands or feet of the gopis are decorated in red color, just like the dancers. Important characteristic, the green beetle wing is studded in all the green ornaments and pearl strings are also highlighted in the composition. The colors are bright and bold and they have very shiny quality. In the foreground, we can see a small stretch of river. It could be a Yamuna river. A few small trees of the same height in different shapes of leaves are drawn on the right hand side of the composition. The horizon line is beyond the head of the tallest figure of Krishna, on which trees again of the same size are painted in a stylized manner. It seems that the artist wanted to stretch the plain background to give emphasis to his colorful figures, so he pushed the horizon further up. We see stylization, which has been done for the ornamental purpose. The orange vibrant background is giving extraordinary kind of appeal to the painting, and this painting has a beautiful sentiment of love and devotion, which is an inspiration and the central theme of the composition. The second painting is Nandi, Yashoda and Krishna with kinsmen going to Vrindavan. In museum, the name of the painting is Road to Vrindavan. Artist is Nansuk, medium is tempera, which is a watercolor medium on paper. Then period is 1785 to 90 AD, sub-school is Kangra, and collection National Museum, New Delhi. The theme or subject matter of the painting is that the painting is based on the story of Bhagavad Puran, which shows Nandi, Yashoda and Krishna with kinsmen migrating from Gokul to Vrindavan. Kans was trying repeatedly to harm Krishna, so everybody decided to move bag and baggage from Gokul to Vrindavan. Now description, which is also very important for case study questions. This painting depicts a group of people with their cattle and other belongings, and they are carrying everything to Vrindavan. Nand is seated on a bullock cart with a dome-shaped canopy or shed drawn by two bulls and driven by a cowherd. Cowherd is the person who drives the cart. On the right side, the cart is carrying baby Krishna, and other people accompanying him are Balram, who is his stepbrother, Yashoda, his foster mother, and stepmother is Rohini. Then men and women are carrying their belongings in baskets and tied cloth bundles, also called gutries. They are carrying them either on their heads or on their shoulders. A few ladies are also carrying pitchers, and a spinning wheel can also be seen in the painting. Each face is a careful study of portraiture, in which most of the paintings are in ek chashma. Their lifestyle is humble, which you can see in their bodies, which are half covered, and they are very simply dressed. The ghagras of the walking women, if you look closely, have horizontal stripes. The landscape in the background shows a line of trees which have intricate details of leaves and trunks, and they are carved along the path with two rocks in the groove and two birds are sitting on them. The cows are realistically depicted, and they have distinct size of horns, their skin color and other anatomical details. Everything is done in beautiful details. Now coming to lines and color scheme, the lines of the contours, the outer side, the boundary of the figures, they are very thin and delicate. The painting has a very subtle appeal. The colors are very soothing. They are neither gaudy nor they are too bright. So they look very lively. The sky blue river behind the line of trees, a light ochre of the ground and cattle, they are all in earthy colors, whereas the figures are painted in brighter colors. The painting overall of Kangra school has its own distinct place in terms of delicate line and color treatment, and it is a beautiful painting done by the master artist Nansuk. That's all we have for Pahadi School. I hope this helps you in answering all kinds of questions. Do share and subscribe so that you get further notifications. These are the books including the MCQ booklets. So thank you very much. Best wishes to you and goodbye.